am actually super excited for this interview because we're going to talk about the intersection of Snapchat and esports.
Yep.
Both of those things are good fun, and I'm happy to see where they meet. So, Sam, thank you so much for being here.
Thanks for having me. No, I appreciate you guys having me here and excited to talk to you about everything esports and everything Snapchat. So hit me with everything. I'm ready for it. I'm excited to talk.
Awesome, awesome. Well, actually, let's get started just by introducing yourself and
For
tell us
sure.
what you do at Snapchat because the esports division is fairly new, right?
Yes. Yeah. So just to give more context on myself, I've been at Snapchat now for close to 3 years. I'm an account strategist, meaning that I work with new advertisers and existing advertisers, and I am the esports lead on the advertiser solutions side. So what that essentially means is my job is to help esports advertisers hit their goals, whether it be merch or registrations or signups or app installs in some instances, so that they can continue their following, they can grow out their business and essentially help them in multiple different ways. So that's kind of the long and short of what I do. But right now, it's really just a lot of opportunities like this, right? Talking in the community, getting the word out there about Snapchat, because not a lot of people know that we are in this space, and if they don't know, they hopefully will do, and a lot of people will hopefully know that after this and other opportunities that come up for me and our team here at Snap. So just a bit more about myself.
And how did you get into doing esports things at Snapchat? Because you're a gamer, right? You said you play FIFA,
Yep.
but then you started working at Snapchat. Is it that the esports opportunity in Snapchat came up and you were like, me, or like,
Yep.
how did that happen? That's
Yeah,
that's it.
no,
That's
good
how it happened.
question. Yeah, no, it really was, right? Like more about myself from like a background perspective. Like I was in ad tech sales at Taboola for about 2 years, right? And I was working with publishers. I'd done that at Snap for a while, and the opportunity came up in esports, and I was approached to kind of like take it over and run it. And I just couldn't say no, right? It was just too much of an opportunity. I love sports and esports as a whole too, and they've kind of like esports have transcended into the sports community and the sports world. So for me, it's just a super high potential field and opportunity that I just couldn't say no to. And so far, it's been going really well, right? There's a lot of conversations we've had with some relatively large pro esports teams and esports communities. So just looking really to grow that out and ultimately help us to expand our reach in that field.
So what does the esports division at Snapchat look like right now? I know you said you're reaching out to some organizations, but
Yep.
do you have any like specific like current goals in mind? Like maybe, I mean, I'm not sure what they would be. Like, I mean, maybe some small goals would even just be make some
Yeah.
esports filters, right? Or
Yeah. I want it all, right? Right now, it's literally me, and I have a colleague who works in like the partnerships team who runs a few relationships with esports pro teams. I think she works with like FaZe Clan, 100 Thieves, things like that, to kind of like help them to get their content up and running on Snapchat, and they kind of filter out those different processes. But for me, like the opportunity is endless, right? I really want to make sure that I can connect with the large esports organizations like FaZe Clan, 100 Thieves, Cloud9, you name it, right? I want to make sure that those guys can have their voice heard and that they can expand that presence using augmented reality, using lenses, using filters, using our ad products. And if you have other companies that work with us that are just trying to build out that community, they can come to me, they can come to us as a source of opportunity and a source of place where they can really grow out that business. So for me, it's really more about the big picture really is accessibility, but the opportunity is just starting, right? Like
Mhm.
this opportunity for me at Snap started in April. So I am right now just scratching the surface of what it means to be and work with esports companies and advertisers, and really to kind of be in this space despite having a passion for it and being a gamer for a long time.
What makes Snapchat like not maybe different from other social platforms, but just
Mhm.
special in terms of like what do you think Snapchat specifically can bring to the esports field?
For sure. I think what we can bring to the esports field is really just a sense of authenticity, right? I feel like the main mantra at Snapchat is it's like the best friends platform, right? You are your most real self, I could say in a lot of different ways on Snapchat. And we hope that people will continue to have those bigger picture gaming conversations on Snapchat, and then, see an ad from someone within FaZe Clan or 100 Thieves or any other pro esports team, or, any esports community essentially. And then maybe they want to dip into some content that's esports related as well. So kind of creating this giant hub where people can continue to have those same behaviors they have with their friends on Snapchat, while also just kind of really diving deeper and attracting people that are esports enthusiasts and esports fans to, consume more content and ultimately, dive deeper into the platform. So for me, it's kind of a multifaceted approach. But at the end of the day, I think that there are, so many people that are esports fans or gamers, and we just need to kind of bridge that gap to kind of bring more esports companies onto the platform to allow those meaningful connections to happen.
Absolutely. Now, what are some of the ways that you're reaching out to some of the gaming communities? And on the flip side, is it possible for some of the folks who are grassroots organizers and are building their own gaming or esports communities to reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. For me right now, a lot of what I am doing is sales, right? I'm going out there, I'm, reaching out about, just introducing myself to them and saying, hey, I work on Snapchat with our self-serve ad platform. I understand you guys are probably looking to sell merch or grow users or, subscriptions, whatever it may be. Let's have a conversation. There's a lot of gamers on Snapchat that I feel will be interested in XYZ that you do, and really just trying to build out that base, as I mentioned. Again, obviously speaking at opportunities like this are great for me, and going to events, right? Obviously with COVID, networking events have been transformed to virtual opportunities like this, but I hope to get myself up close and in personal with people in the esports community at various events across the country very soon. And to answer your second question, absolutely. Just making sure that after this event, I hope to connect with other people that have already spoken or plan to speak at the event, before the end of day today, and ultimately make sure that we can have positive conversations around how they can increase their footprint on Snapchat and really kind of grow out their business.
Absolutely. So what kind of original content in terms of esports is Snapchat interested in?
I really think it's anything that vibes or does well with our user base. To put it into very layman's terms, right? Are there people that will watch this? I know that there are a bunch of Gen Zers that are on our platform, and that is kind of like the constant overlap with the esports community. So is this something that people will watch? Is it something that people will engage with? And is it something that has longevity, essentially, right? Is it something that can be not just like a one season or a 2-season thing, but kind of really be ingrained with people for a long time to keep them coming back for more and really build itself into their daily consumption, right? Are they getting notifications that say, hey, there's a new episode of XYZ that just came out? So really kind of the way I think of it is like, it's a TV network, and we want to ultimately make sure that we can present it in a way that helps it out and ultimately allows us to find people that want to watch these different opportunities and these different programs. And if they're esports related, that is, the holy grail for me, the biggest opportunity. So that's the way I kind of look at it.
Got it. Like a very specific question about content. As a Cloud9 fan, when can I expect some Cloud9 filters?
I'm working on it.
Okay.
I'm actually working with them on an opportunity to kind of sell merch, but I'd love to get more conversations around filters and lenses started. So if they're watching, let's definitely talk more. But there's so many opportunities here, and like I mentioned, we're really just scratching the surface. I'd love to see that and many more opportunities come up so that we can build awareness and ultimately use our other direct response focused advertising products towards helping them hit those goals, whatever they may be.
Now, talk to us a little bit about the company goals. I know you said you're just scratching the surface, yet you want it all, which is totally reasonable. I agree. But what specific steps, like what do you see yourself doing, like in the next 3 years, 5 years, 10 years? Because you do have to break it down, right, step by step. Like, we're going to go after this first, we're going to grow here next.
Yeah, I think for me, I'll do short term, and that'll just kind of carry into the long term. I'm hoping to manage a team that only focuses on esports advertisers. There's different sectors that I've kind of broken it down into already in terms of like just general strategy, but as a whole, how do we connect with and create a vertical that is solely within esports, that is solely focused on pro esports teams? How do we focus on these esports communities? How do I focus on some apps that are obviously related to this field as well? And how do I build a team around that? How do we expand our advertising products so that they are fitting the needs of these different advertisers in real time, right? And that's kind of more of like a bigger picture product opportunity for us. But how can we make our audience accessible and willing to go after these different products that, you know, they're offering on a consistent basis, and allow these esports companies as advertisers to find products and use products that are helpful to them within our platform that they can advertise towards. So that's kind of like the big picture for me. 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. My goal is to obviously make that team bigger as time goes on, but the goal really is to make sure that they can use our platform. They can use advertising products that build meaningful results for them. They can measure them, and they can build strategy with me and, you know, whoever else I work with towards their success. And that's really the only thing that matters to me right now. The other opportunities down the line, I think you'll have to talk to me then. But for now, that's kind of where I'm at and where my head is, because it is, as I mentioned, you know, since April, still pretty new for me, but eager at the opportunity and eager to kind of sink my teeth in.
It's exciting to be at the beginning of something. So you have a really, really fun job. I think it's going to be tough. I mean, I'm sure you're putting in many hours into this. You know, one thing that I'm curious about is, do you think Snapchat as a platform will, or at least part of it, like the esports division, will evolve with some of the technology that games have? Like, one of the things that I'm thinking about is virtual reality. Like, so many more games are coming out of virtual reality. Are you going to like somehow interface with that new technology?
Definitely a possibility. I'm probably not the person to speak to about it, but maybe it's something we would explore in the future. I'm not too sure. I know they're already, the step that we have made in that direction are, you know, having Snap games, which are literally just games you can play amongst your friends within the application that you can access via chat, right? So that's kind of like our next step. So I think building on iterations of that would come first, but believe me, if there was a VR opportunity for, you know, us to explore within gaming, I would jump at the opportunity and try to make that a focal point for advertisers to, you know, connect with our user base. You know, if you had something that could kind of bridge that gap, that would be the best process for us, I think.
I play those games. I'm a
awesome.
user.
Awesome. There you go.
Like
I love to hear that. Thank you. No, it's great. It's great to hear, because I think that those games were like a huge step for us. And obviously, like, there's a ton of gamers on Snapchat. So I think that has kind of been like a great way for us to, you know, allow people to, again, be their true self, have fun, and engage with their friends.
Absolutely. I think with having games on something like Snapchat, it makes it gaming very accessible, right? Like, anyone can download Snapchat. And it also helps bridge across like generations. Maybe like you can play with your parents, maybe if they, you know, don't know too much about gaming, but they can still play games in Snapchat. You can bridge across different skill levels. And I think that's really important, because I think when a lot of folks think about esports, they think about the pro side of things, or maybe like some of those really hardcore games that take a lot of, you know, equipment and skill. But having mobile games or games within applications like Snapchat, I think is really important.
Yeah, and to your point there, I think that if we find that people are, you know, big into mobile gaming, or that just have like a general affinity for a certain type of game, that's something that we obviously want to make sure that they are attracted to regarding these different esports opportunities. Because I think that gaming, depending on where you kind of play the most, I think that, you know, mobile gamers transcend into PC and console gamers. If you know, I think that, and I could be totally wrong on this, but I think that if you're a gamer and you're someone that enjoys that type of competition and kind of being on your phone or being on a, you know, console, you're going to find opportunities in the esports world that are attractive to you. And that's where we're trying to make sure we can bridge the gap. So I think that hit the nail on the head, what you mentioned.
Yeah, I'm happy that, you know, because sometimes, obviously, like, I play League of Legends, but sometimes it's nice to take a break from something so intense and play a phone game where I get to,
yeah,
I don't know, garden. Or I think you guys have one game where you have to guess the country with your
yes.
friends. I really like that one.
Yeah, I think a lot of the games are just like, and the ones you can use your Bitmoji for make it even more personal. So I think that's just another opportunity that we've kind of dove into to allow people to kind of really experience it for themselves. And if you have your friends that jump in there and you see that your friends are playing a certain game and you want to jump in at a certain time, it really just kind of draws people more together. And ultimately that's what we want. So if we can, kind of create opportunities for esports advertisers to get in the mix with that, that's amazing.
Absolutely. Now, for folks who might be interested in either like marketing or social media, but also esports, which is the intersection that you're at,
Mhm.
what advice do you have for them about getting into a career like that?
Yeah, I would say for me, it was just kind of like a opportunity that came up that was just kind of like a perfect mix. I think for people that want to get into, I'll just say the sales world because that's where I'm kind of coming from. And it could be anything they want to do, but I think that kind of find like the right company or the right, I guess background of a company that you think you would want to work with and work with for a long time. I think from there opportunities will come to you because in this instance that's kind of how it happened, right? I was working well and doing a great job with other clients. It just kind of came up to work in esports. But I think that find your passion, work at a company that really kind of fits the credentials and the background that you see in yourself, and everything else will kind of follow suit. And if there's people that want to work in marketing, sales, I think it's transferable across the board. But for me, I think it's like if there is an opportunity for you to work somewhere that you think is a great company, start off there, build your way up, work your way within it, and then ultimately there will be opportunities for success within that company that you will open the door to yourself, as it kind of happened with me. And I think that the unorthodox stories for me is like, you know, when I was my first job was I was a sales manager at a Macy's in Queens, New York. I got a job in sales. I got a job in the sales job in ad tech. I then went to Snapchat. Here I am managing the esports division. So it's like there are steps along the way, but as long as you have an idea of what you want to do, nothing can stop you and you'll be fine. That's kind of my thing. And I always tell that story because I think it is so impactful.
I agree. I think it really illustrates to folks that your path to where you want to be is not linear. And
Nope.
I think that's
Yeah.
we've heard that from other guest speakers, but it never gets old. Like it's such an important reminder because when you're passionate about something and you're trying to work towards that goal, but you don't get there right away, it can be really disheartening. So
Mhm.
to hear from people like you say, hey, I started out working in Macy's, it gives us that hope and that like oomph and energy to continue on the path that we're passionate about.
Exactly. Everything in your career, look at it as if it's not your dream company right away, that doesn't mean your dream company won't be there within, 4, 5, 6 years, right? It just depends on how hard you work and what kind of angle you want to take to get into that opportunity and be successful. And I think that if you have a will, there's a will, there's a way, right? Like that's just kind of what happened with me. And it just kind of was honestly the people that I worked with, to sound kind of really cliche. Like I had great mentors and friends along the way at these different companies I worked for that kind of helped me get to where I am today. So I have to kind of, give kudos to them, because that's what kind of got me to where I am today.
Absolutely. I don't think that's cliche at all. I mean, no one is an island, right? We can't do anything alone. And the fact that you had those mentors and friends, you're very lucky, but it's that's how we get there, right? We can't get there alone.
Exactly.
Actually, can you tell us a little bit more about that side of things? Because, one of the pieces of advice that we also heard multiple times today is networking, right? But networking can be a very nebulous term. So when you think of networking or the tips for networking that worked for you over the years, what were they?
Yeah, I think that for me, it really was. So my first job outside of working at Macy's was working at an agency, recruitment company, right? So it was right in New York. I worked there for 3 years. I built up a lot of my sales skills there. At that company, I was recruiting for sales professionals within tech startups. You meet a lot of people through that because you meet a lot of owners, new CEOs, things like that, and you meet a lot of salespeople who are working at new places. I just kind of kept in touch and had good relationships with people at those different companies that I worked for, and then those people ended up kind of either moving on from different companies or moving on from my current company to something else and something else and something else. So I think honestly, like networking is great. Those are like great interactions. I think it's really like if you are somewhere and you are, kind of trying to build your resume for something else, don't forget about those relationships that you build at those different companies, because believe me, they will come back and you will, tap someone on the shoulder and say, hey, I see you're working here. How do you like it? Or how do you enjoy this? And there will always be something that kind of takes you back to that original place. So for me, it's really just been relationships along the way, and ultimately just kind of seeing where I wanted to take my career. So working at Taboola was great because I got my feet wet in the ad tech world, right? Which is super vital in today's world. And then I had, a friend that worked at Snap, and I had a conversation with him and had the experience, and it just kind of was able to work out. So I would say networking events are fantastic. Networking events in person are great, virtually are great. I think it's really just about, like, if you really want to go for something, reach out to somebody directly. Don't be shy. I think it's another part of it too. If you see a company and you just want to say, hey, can I just pick your brain? Or you're an alumni of somewhere, I went to Penn State. So there's a lot of Penn Staters that I reach out to, and vice versa. So I think build those relationships. Don't be afraid to reach out, and ultimately keep in touch with people. I think that's what's really worked well for me, because I can tap somebody on the shoulder, like, tomorrow, and ask them about their opinion on, X, Y, and Z topic, or what they like about this or that, and just kind of gain insight that you wouldn't be able to get from just looking at it from the outside in.
Absolutely. That's great advice. Now, I know you told us a little bit about, like, looking forward, the goals for Snapchat and its esports division. Do you have any specific goals right now that you can share with us in terms of building your actual team? Like, what do you see? Like, because right now, it's like a person and a half, right? It's you, and you said your colleague, but she also works on something else. What's next for your team? Is it hiring, production folks? Is it hiring more marketing folks? Like, what does it look like to build out a team at Snapchat?
Yeah, I think on the sales side of the house, it's really me doing my best job as of right now to connect with as many esports advertisers as possible, right? It sounds pretty basic, but that's really what it is. I need to go out there and make sure that I'm making the most meaningful connections with different advertisers in this field, so that I can grow out this as a book of business, right? As something that I can hang my hat on. And that is really the next step to grow this out. And then from there, obviously, as I mentioned, we can verticalize. But if I can just have, a few good clients that are there, that are spending consistently, that is really the big opportunity for me next. And then that's just going to, snowball quarter after quarter. From there, I can verticalize and potentially have that opportunity to have my own team. And then from there, ultimately make sure that we are having those larger conversations where I'm tapping the partnerships team on the shoulder with a new idea that one of those advertisers came up with. And that's kind of where I am. It's very, right now for me, it's me out here just trying to make sure that I can talk to as many people as possible, which is obviously why events like this are fantastic. But I think at the end of the day, there's just so much out there that I'm learning about and that I'm educating myself on consistently, so that I can get to the point where we're talking a year from now, the book that I have looks totally different, and it's there for the right reasons. So marketing people are great. Production's great. I think that's more on like the content and partnership side of the house. For me, it's really how can I bring the value of Snapchat every day to these different advertisers, so they understand who we are, what we bring to the table, and ultimately how they can differentiate us from other social platforms and the advertising channels that they also bring to their media mix.
That makes sense. Makes total sense. So we just have 1 minute left. Sam, I do want to thank you for being here. And
Yeah,
I
thank
also just
you.
want to ask for any parting words of wisdom for either for your younger selves starting out on this path, or for any folks that are watching right now who are saying, I would really like to work at Snapchat on esports, or, at that intersection of social media and esports.
Anyone looking for the intersection of social media and esports, feel free to reach out to me. It's literally my first name S, my last name Rouan at snap.com. If you want to just hop on a call, kind of have a conversation around it. I think the main point for my younger self was, I guess, find people that value your opinion and ultimately want to see you succeed. Find a mentor, find someone that you can invest your time with. And at the end of the day, I think the other side of the equation will be find out what you want to do and fail fast. And that's what I think that other people here, probably don't want to hear. You want to fail fast, but I think that if you find out what you want to do, from the get-go, you will be fine. And if you make mistakes along the way, it will lead you to what you're eventually meant to do or have the most passion for. So that's kind of my parting opportunity. But I mean it when I say reach out to me. Happy to connect. And ultimately, this is a big field and a big community. So I welcome the connections.
Thank you so much for your time and being generous with your time, but also being generous with saying, hey, folks can reach out to you if they have questions. That's, this is the networking, and it's really, really nice when, people in the industry like yourself are saying, yeah, the new folks are welcome to reach out to me. So really appreciate that.
Happy to do it and happy to be here. Thanks again for having me. And I'll look forward to potentially joining future events with you guys.
That would be awesome. We would love to have you back. Absolutely. Well, thank you so much, Sam. And
No
for
worries.
everyone else watching, stick around. We're going to take a quick break and we are going to be back with a panel about SmashCon.